Okay, in this video we're going to talk about elements, mixtures and compounds, and we're going to use some examples that I have here. We've got iron filings and we've got sulfur. Now both of these are elements found in the periodic table. Iron is a metal element and sulfur is a non-metal element. And each of these are elements, which means they are made of the same type of atom. If you look at iron here, I've represented it with little black dots. All of the iron atoms are identical and they're arranged in a regular pattern. They are solid. Sulfur, the atoms are actually arranged in molecules, but you can see the sulfur powder is just a yellow powdery substance. And the iron filings, you probably would have seen these in DT. The iron filings are like a dark grey color, small sand-like texture. Now, iron, metals, some metals, in particular iron, is a magnetic substance. In other words, it's attracted to a magnet. So I've got here just a simple bar magnet with the north and south pole. I'm covering it in a tissue just because I don't want my magnet to get covered in iron filings. If I bring it near the iron filings, you should be able to see that the iron filings stick to the magnet, okay? And when I take the magnet out, those iron filings will all drop back into the watch glass. If I do the same with the sulfur, sulfur is non-magnetic. It is not a metal and it's a non-magnetic element. I can hold it close over the sulfur. In fact, you can see that iron filings and sulfur, the mixture, this has been used for that mixture before because you can see some tiny iron filings attached to the magnet. Okay, but this is sulfur and this is iron filings. Now here I have iron filings and sulfur, and I've illustrated it here with small bits of iron and some sulfur molecules. If I mix these together, I now have what's called a mixture. Previously I had the separate elements, the iron, there you can see in grey, and the sulfur yellow. Once I start to mix them together, you end up with a yellowy grey mixture. And I can show you that a mixture, these are not being combined. If I bring my magnet, again wrapped up in my tissue, nearby, you can see that I can separate out these iron filings, and I can begin to do that if I bring my iron filings back. I can separate out the iron filings, just get the magnet out, drop them there, and separate some more iron filings, clean them off, drop them there, and separate some more. And I can keep going and sift this out and remove some of the yellow sulfur. Eventually, you can see it's a little bit dirty from some of the impurities in the iron, but eventually I can remove most of the iron filings and I can separate these two substances. Okay, so now what we've done is we've taken our mixture of iron filings and sulfur. I've put it in a little crucible here and we've just mixed it together. I'll show you. We've just mixed it together, and what I'm going to do is pour it into here, and I'm going to get this mixture of iron filings and sulfur to start reacting. In order for this reaction to take place, we need it to be heated up. So I'm just heating up this glass rod. So what we're doing here is we have a mixture of iron filings and sulfur, and I've got a glass rod that I've heated that I am going to use to get the reaction started. So if I put that in there, you should see that the sulfur starts to melt and the reaction will begin. We're doing this reaction in the fume cupboard because sulfur dioxide can be given off, which is a poisonous gas. So we'd rather that the gas is extracted. But you can see now chemical reaction starting to take place as the sulfur reacts with the iron filings. And what we're doing now is we're forming a compound. So I'm just going to move that into the fume cupboard. Now this is what's called, we're going to learn about them later, this is what's called an exothermic reaction. And so when the reaction starts to take place, heat energy is actually given out. Combustion or burning is an example of an exothermic reaction. What I've got underneath is asbestos, which is a fire retardant. It will stop, it won't burn, and it will prevent the fire from spreading. We just need to let the new compound, which is called iron sulphide, what's happened now is the particles have been rearranged and have now bonded together. There are chemical bonds holding them together. A new compound is formed, and we call it iron sulphide. We add IDE on the end because it's a new substance, and it has different properties from the iron and from the sulphur. In fact, you'll see that once this is reacted in the middle, you can't see any of the yellow powder anymore, and the grey iron filings have become a black solid. Okay, so the iron sulphide compound has cooled now, and I just wanted to show you, we said that one of the properties of iron filings was that it was magnetic, and if I hold this magnet over the top, the iron filings are attracted to the magnet, like that. And we said that the sulphur was non-magnetic. So the new substance that's been formed, the new compound iron sulphide, let's see if it is magnetic. We've got a new substance that is not non-magnetic because the iron is now part of a compound and has new properties because it is a compound. So hopefully that helps us understand elements, our iron and our sulphur, that we put together in a mixture, iron filings and sulphur together, mixed together, and once we heated it and made a chemical reaction take place, we formed a compound. And the difference between a mixture and a compound is that the compound has chemical bonds between the atoms of iron and sulphur. Mixture can be separated. That's all for now.